Got an email recently from one of my subscribers, Hank, who sent me a link to a story that ended up having tragic results. I want to be sensitive in handling the details of this story as it happened fairly recently. In short, an off-duty police officer, Officer Belcastro, died in a motorcycle crash when a car crossed in front as he was out for an early evening ride. Since I didn't see the crash, I have no comment on what may or may not have happened, but I do want to comment on the words of the Warren County prosecutor who was quoted in the newspaper article covering the crash and the life of Officer Belcastro. Now, I'll also have a link to that article on MCrider.com on the page that hosts this video. So let me read directly from the article that was published in the newspaper, and I think you'll be able to point out what the problem is with this story. So let's read directly from the article that was posted in the paper. A vehicle in the right lane of the highway drove past the intersection, and the Toyota attempted to cross just after, Pfeiffer said. Belcastro, who was wearing a helmet, put down the bike on the road, which is a common crash evasion tactic, but he struck the car as the bike slid past and stopped beyond the intersection. Belcastro, a Phillipsburg native, before moving to Stewartsville, was pronounced dead at the scene. From all accounts, Officer Belcastro was an outstanding police officer. I did a little bit of research on him. He served his community well. He was a father, he was a husband, and I'm sure his family and community feel his loss greatly. And again, I don't want to go into the specifics of the crash or speculate on what may or may not have happened, but I do know that there's some bad information being passed in the newspaper article, and I do want to address that. It's ironic that I just covered this scenario in a recent video on lane position here on MCrider. In that video, I showed a car waiting to turn left, passing right behind another car, and cutting off our motorcycle rider, causing the incident. I don't know what the situation was in the real-life incidents. I don't know if the rider had established a good lane position or if he had good following distance, but the crash itself was exactly the scenario that we talked about recently on MCrider. Remember, we have no control over the actions of others on the road. What we do have control over is our road skills and road strategy every time we ride. Even then, we can do everything right and still be caught by an inattentive driver or a bad situation. But we can significantly reduce our risk on the road by handling the things that are in our control. So in the article, the county prosecutor says this: Belcastro put down the bike on the road, which is a common crash evasion tactic, but he struck the car as the bike slid past and stopped beyond the intersection. Now, the county prosecutor is not incorrect. This is a common crash avoidance tactic, laying down the motorcycle. It doesn't mean it's the correct crash avoidance tactic. And also, we don't even know for sure if that's what happened here or if there was some speculation on the part of the individual being quoted. Now, there's a whole lot of things that are considered common and not correct, and laying down your motorcycle to avoid a crash is one of those things. Some facts about laying a motorcycle down are: if you lay the motorcycle down, you're guaranteed to crash every time. If you lay the motorcycle down, it does not mean you're not going to hit the object that you were attempting to avoid. If you lay the motorcycle down, you're giving up on the situation and you're relying on luck that you will reduce your injuries as a result. Crashes, when they do occur, happen quickly and in the blink of an eye. You don't have the luxury to think about what the best option for this situation is. What you practice is what you will do when the pressure's on. Some options in this situation: emergency braking, swerving, or brake and escape. All of these exercises and how to practice them can be found in the field guide and a lot of training classes. You can get access to the field guide at mcrider.com/member. But what happens if you fail to practice? Well, who knows? At that point, you're going into panic mode. You may lock up the brakes and crash. You may hammer on the brakes and attempt to swerve at the same time, causing a different type of crash. One very likely result is that your mind will just freeze up and you'll do nothing and you'll hit the vehicle at full speed. In addition to practice and having control over the motorcycle, modern riders and motorcycles have some other huge advantages. They have ABS on most motorcycles at their disposal. ABS is a lifesaver. For me, right after wearing a helmet, I believe ABS is the second biggest safety feature you can have on a motorcycle. Rider of current motorcycles have much better brakes than we used to have. They have tires with much better traction, and the motorcycles of today are very maneuverable. Add these mechanical advantages to road skills, and you may avoid a crash altogether, or at worst, you'll still have an impact at a greatly reduced speed. And one of my friends and a fellow riding instructor used this comment all the time when teaching a class. He'd say, in an emergency, you never rise to the level of the emergency. You always fall to your level of training. So let me ask you, how far down is your level of training? How long has it been since you practiced emergency braking? How long has it been since you took a training class? How long has it been since you raised your level of training? The time to ask that question is right now, when you're sitting on the couch watching this video. The time to do something about it is right now. Sign up for a training class, or at least become a member and get access to the field guide and work on some of these life-saving techniques on your own. The details of this story are tragic. We lost a man who had dedicated his life to the service and protection of others. I couldn't think of a better way to honor his legacy than to encourage you to build up your skill level and encourage you to become a better rider. Till next week, guys, it's Kevin with MCrider, and I'll see you on the